Hey everyone, this is Pem. We are back, and it is good to be back. This is just a quick update video to let you guys know what's going to be going on with the schedule now that we're back up and the computer is running 100%. First off, I want to apologize for it taking so long to get back to you. It was beginning of October that I said I thought we'd be uploading videos by Halloween. Obviously, I was wrong. It ended up not being until after Christmas. And we'll get to why that is in just a minute. Just to keep you abreast of what's happening. Mass Effect 2 and Crusader Kings 2 are good and will be uploaded soon. I've started recording them, but I want to build up a little bit of a backlog first before I start uploading them. Oblivion uploads to this point have consisted of the backlog of episodes that I recorded before computer problems set in. So there were the 3 episodes that I uploaded this past week. But here's the bad news. That's going to be it. Oblivion has been a casualty of my computer's hard drive issues that I had. I couldn't get the mods to work to the point where it would load Nebish's save. I tried 2 or 3 different ways based on recommendations that you guys had given me, including the long way, which was to reinstall Oblivion and add the mods one at a time, or 5 or 6 at a time until I had them all back, and then run boss and get them all in order. And it still wouldn't work. So there was some small thing, probably somewhere along the line, that I was missing that was forcing it to not work correctly, and as a result, I just gave up. Now, I'm sure that there are many of you who are watching or listening who probably could have done this successfully. You have the skills and the experience. I do not. I was always kind of flying blind as I was doing this. Well, no, not blind. I had help from people, but it was help from other people. I was not very skilled at this myself. So I don't doubt that some of you could have done it. If you could have come to my house and sat down at my computer, this would probably have all been sorted out. But since you can't, we're just going to move on, I think. Obviously, this is a big disappointment for me. This was an LP that went some 200 and something videos. It lasted more than a year from beginning to abortive end, so it was a huge investment for me. I'm very bothered that it didn't work out, and that's the main reason why it's been so long since I said that I would upload before I actually started uploading, because even though I had the backlog of videos, when I couldn't get Oblivion to work, I just got really frustrated and didn't want to... when I knew that it wasn't going to work, when it started to sink in, I was like, ah, fuck, this sucks. Because I really wanted to see this character finish his story. But I started to get used to the idea that, okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to make this work. I need to get back to doing what I do, with just doing something different. But then it was like, well, I knew that coming back and having to tell you guys that it wasn't going to work would be really disappointing. And so the more I thought about how disappointing that would be to have to tell you, the less I wanted to come back. And so I just kind of kept putting it off and putting it off. I got frustrated. I was afraid I'd be disappointing you, and that made me not want to come back. And the longer I pushed it off, the easier it was to keep pushing it off, if that makes sense. It was like a weird feedback loop. It reminded me a lot of like when I was battling with depression when I was younger, where the worse things get, the more you're willing to let things get even worse, because you're like, I don't want to dig myself out of this hole. This sucks, Parenthetically, another small casualty. It's not nearly as big of a punch to the gut as the Oblivion one, is that I also was not able to save Anaig's Skyrim stream 4th act, which isn't really that big of a heartbreak, because it had been so long since I'd done it, and I get so few opportunities to stream anyway that who knows how long it would have been before I finished it. Anaig's story had really already finished in the 3 acts that she got, and I was really just kind of revisiting it as a fun little exercise when I would get a chance to stream. So that doesn't bother me so much. So let's see. Now that I've gotten used to the idea of Oblivion not working, there are, believe it or not, actually some positive things, I think, that can come out of this. First, I'd taken a very long break, about 6 months, since I had last recorded Oblivion to the time that I started uploading again. And the longer I was away from it, the less and less I missed the LP and the character himself. Not that I ever got like bored with it or done with it, but the further away I was from recording it, the more I was like, well, you know, if it doesn't work out, I could always do something else, you know. The LP had been going on for over a year, which is a really long freaking time to be working with one character in one game, you know. It got pretty, it was very intensive, I guess. Another thing to come out of it that I think is positive, the save, or rather that works out okay in the end, the save file, as you guys who have been watching the LP, the last few episodes, had become very bloated. Loading screens took forever, autosaves and quick saves became distractions on account of how long they took. Opening containers took like 5 or 6 seconds to get a menu to pop up. You know, it was a lot. And this was with me regularly purging cell buffers and running the streamline mod that's supposed to keep your save file cleaned up. And it was what, like 150 hours of saves, save game. That's a lot of information. A lot of places that I visited, a lot of things I left lying around, you know, so I won't miss that, that's for sure. Another thing I think that will work out positively here is I really, looking back on the LP, I feel like Nevish's story was mostly about exploration, the Nirnroot quest, and the Way questline from the AFK Way mod. In retrospect, if I was doing it over again, I think I would have probably ended the LP after the Nirnroot quest was over and after the Way questline, the main questline in the Way mod, was finished. Because that really seemed like a natural stopping point for Nevish's character development. He had finished the exploration that he'd set out to do with alchemy in mind, and he had kind of graduated to being a homeowner, being essentially the gentleman of Way, not really the lord, but kind of the overseer and protector for an entire town of people, who all turned to him when they needed his help. So he'd come into his own, and it was kind of a natural stopping point. And then looking at what I was going to do with the second act, having him go into the Fighters Guild kind of seemed like a step in the wrong direction. I mean, I had an idea when I started the LP of why he was going to do that, but to have him be a badass dude who finished the Way mod questline and explored essentially every waterway in Cyrodiil, it kind of felt weird to say, okay, now you're going to go be a grunt in the Fighters Guild. So, I guess what I'm saying is, if I could have ended the LP right when he got back from defeating Gaius Varus, and turned in the final Nirnroot to Sindarian, that would have been the time to end it, I think. Let's see. So yeah, it's not all bad, this Oblivion LP ending. What have I learned from this whole affair? Well, I've resolved, from now on, for my channel, no LP will ever go over a year from start date to end date. That's just a long freaking time. The longer the LP goes on, the greater the chance something goes wrong and the story remains incomplete, as evidenced by the fact what we just had with the Oblivion LP. You know, it was going on a long time. The longer and longer it goes on, the higher the chance that something's going to get corrupted, the computer's going to blow up, something crazy's going to happen. You know, the longer I let it go, the greater the chance that the character doesn't get to finish his story. So I want to try to avoid that happening in the future. I will just I'll end LPs before they get to a year. I'll kind of build that into the idea that I have. Other advantage is that this will cut down on the bloat of the save file in the future, you know, for games that actually do get bloated with save files. And it'll help keep things fresh from a character perspective. As much as I like Nebish, and I think he was actually probably my favorite character, even more so than Anaig, I liked Anaig's story more. I think I like Nebish more as a character, though. But even so, there's only so many times I can explain Nebish's character or talk about it, because once you get to know the character, that's apart from them developing, there's not much really you can talk about their character. After the first act, when he finished the Way mod questline. It was like, well, he's explored, he's made a name for himself, he's developed his own wealth, and he's now kind of a leader, right? That's what he set out to do. So everything in the second act, after the way mod was done, kind of seemed like extra, sort of. It's like, well, the character's done, right? Like, do we need more? I guess the one thing that I really wish I mean, it's still a bummer. It's still sad. There's a lot of things I won't get to do. I guess I can tell you what I was planning to do with the character, since this is kind of a post-mortem. Nevish was going to finish the Fighters Guild questline. And as those of you who have played it will know, spoiler alert if you haven't, but when you finish the Fighters Guild questline, one of the final things you have to do, not the final thing, but one of them is you take a drug, basically, and you go crazy and you attack this town. And you think it's a bunch of goblins, I think, but it ends up being people, and you're just high as a kite and you're seeing them as goblins, so you slay a bunch of innocent people. So my thinking was, well, Nevish is going to finish that quest, and he's just going to be horrified at what he did, and then that'll be the end of the second act, and the third act will be him joining the Stranded Light, which is the mod that I was going to have take over the third act. And that was remember that Golden Saint lady on the bridge outside the Imperial City Market District? That was where that questline was going to start. So, having slain a bunch of innocent people, even though he becomes master of the Fighters Guild, he doesn't want to continue with it because he's just horrified at what he did on behalf of the Fighters Guild. So he leaves the Fighters Guild, he goes and joins the Stranded Light, trying to make a difference in a positive way and trying to redeem himself. And then the Stranded Light mod was going to be the third act, which I had never played before, so that was going to be something new. But we didn't get there. So I'm bummed out that I didn't get to play the Stranded Light, because I've heard it's fantastic. I'm bummed out that I didn't get to finish the side quests in the Way mod, because those looked like fun. Everything else about the Way mod was fantastic. So I'm disappointed I don't get to see the rest of it. And I'm also disappointed I don't get to do the Fort Such questline, or the Such Village questline, because that was fun. I was really enjoying that. All the town and unique landscapes mods were flippin' amazing. It was great. And Duke Patrick's combat mods were great too. I was really happy that I found those. Duke Patrick Way, which was done by Dwip, I think. Unique Landscapes, Oscuro's Oblivion Overhaul, the town mods. Arthmore, I think, had a lot to do with that. Those, I think, made the LP, from my perspective. Way more than any of the things that I tried to do myself. You know, the Exploration Quest, the Fighters Guild, that kind of thing. It was the mods that made this, I think, and made the character really shine, by giving him a lot of opportunities to do different things. So that's the end of the Oblivion LP. That's how it was supposed to end. But in my mind, I think I'll always just think of it as it ending after the expedition, and after him becoming the Gentleman of Wickseed Manor. It really seems like the most natural conclusion to it. For those of you who might be interested, what was I doing with myself during the long break that I had from recording? Well, as always, I was working on the house. As those of you who have watched the Dire Peril videos know, we are moved into the house now, and there's always more work going on, but we're gradually settled in. So there's less and less to do, and more of just enjoying living here, which is great. You guys will also remember that I started a new job back in August. So of course I needed to focus on learning it, being well rested, I wanted to be on time, that kind of thing. So it didn't, this unplanned break didn't come at the wrong time, I guess is what I'm saying. Spent a lot of time with family, which was nice. Went back to reading much more than I have been while I've been recording. Reading as much as I did before I started recording, which is great. Reread the Iliad again for the 5th time, I think. Reread the Dune series for the 3rd time. That was awesome. It's just as good as I remember it. Reread Borges, which is also awesome. He's still my favorite writer. That's been affirmed. I reread Kafka, his short stories, which I didn't like them this time as much as I did the first time that I read them. Which I don't know why that is. I don't know if that's like getting older or what, but it's just not it seems like more of a chore now to read Kafka stories. They're still good, but it just doesn't grab me the way that like Borges stories did. And I started reading the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. I was going to read the whole thing, the whole quadrilogy or however many books it is. But I'm almost finished with the first one. But I really don't like it. I don't care for it. I guess I'm unfairly comparing it to Dune, because Dune is the other galaxy-spanning multi-book sci-fi series. That's famous and well known, and it just doesn't hold up. It doesn't compare. Asimov wasn't a bad writer, but he's just kind of boring to me. I read the Robot series when I was younger, and I remember thinking, like, really, this is Isaac Asimov? Like, everybody talks about how great of a sci-fi writer he is, and I just kind of thought it was boring. But then I thought, well, it's Asimov. Everybody speaks highly of him. I'll give the Foundation thing a try. And now that I'm through the first book, I'm like, I could just skip the rest of it, honestly. What else have I been doing on the break? Oh, I started playing the piano again. I took lessons when I was a kid and haven't touched it for years and years, but we have a piano in our new house, so I've been practicing again and kind of gradually getting back into it, which is fun. And I've been catching up on TV shows everyone says I should watch. Mainly Game of Thrones. I'm almost caught up. I'm in season 6 now, and it is as great as everyone says. It's very, what's the way to put it? It's not gloomy, it's not depressing, but there are very few characters in the show with hope. I'm learning. Everybody's just miserable all the fucking time, which is fine. But my main exposure to fantasy has, of course, been Lord of the Rings, where the characters wouldn't survive if it wasn't for hope. So Game of Thrones, it's refreshing to see something different, but at the same time, episode after episode after episode of people just being miserable and dying and being raped and having their friends killed, and it's just like, oh my god. Everybody's just miserable all the time. But still, it's very good. I wouldn't have watched the whole thing if I didn't enjoy it. So that's what I've been doing with my time, mainly, which has been nice. It's been nice to be doing something different. But I recognize I've been away from LPing now for a while, and I really miss it. So it's time to come back now. It's time to get back into the swing of things. So with Oblivion being done, what's next for the channel? Well, Mass Effect 2 and Crusader Kings 2 will continue until they're done. I think the upload schedule is going to be Mass Effect 2 on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. It'll be taking Oblivion slot. And then Crusader Kings 2 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then I think nothing on the weekends. I'm just going to stick with 2 LPs from now. That keeps me from... it gives me a couple options here. One, it keeps me from overscheduling myself. And it allows me some flexibility to do extra stuff, like specials for subscriber milestones, for anniversaries. Might allow me to do some streams on some level of regularity. I'm hoping that I can maybe free up one Saturday a month where I'll have 3 or 4 hours to stream for you guys. But as those of you who've heard me talk about streaming in the past know, don't hold me to that, because I've had to back out of thinking I could stream regularly before. So yeah, going forward, the channel will continue with one role-playing game, or rather one role-playing type game, and one strategy type game going forward. For those of you who are interested, some games on the short list. This is not in any particular order, but just to give you guys an idea of what might be coming. On the RPG side, I'm thinking Planescape Torment, Dragon Age Origins, The Witcher is one I want to do, Jade Empire, Mass Effect 3, of course, we'll finish the trilogy, Fallout 3 someday, Kingdoms of Amalur someday, which I'm really looking forward to playing. I have a plan to go back to Skyrim, of course, and I have a plan to go back to Oblivion. I already have an idea for the next Oblivion LP. I won't go into it now, but rest assured it's going to be a while before I revisit Oblivion, because I've been playing it for a year and almost a half by this point. Actually, it was a year and a half. I think I started it in January, and it went all the way till June of last year. So it was a year and a half long. So yeah, Skyrim's on the list, Oblivion's on the list for someday. Oh, and a game that I just got on Steam this past week called Darkest Dungeon, which is so much fun. I really enjoy it. I really want to LP that for you guys, and I have kind of a fun idea for how to do it that I'm borrowing from Zemalf and his XCOM streams. So keep your eyes open for that. Strategy games. Well, XCOM, actually, now that you mention it, or since I just mentioned it, is on the list. Europa Universalis 4, which makes sense, given I just did, or I'm rather doing Crusader Kings 2. Civilization Beyond Earth is one that I'll visit eventually, and Endless Legend, too, I think. Someday. But those are all someday things. Who knows how much longer Crusader Kings 2 is going to go on. Mass Effect 2 will probably go on for at least another month or two. So it'll be a while yet. But that's the plan for the channel. So, I hope you guys will find this interesting enough to stick with it. Oblivion is dead. Nebish is gone. But the channel continues. And we'll find our own fun doing something else going forward. This is the end of the character of Nebish. I think he had a very good run. I would have really liked to finish his story. But at the same time, I feel like a part of his story actually finished after Way and the collecting expedition, so I don't feel terrible about saying goodbye to him, because I feel like he actually did develop the way that I said that he was going to. So, in honor of Nebish, those of you who have a drink can join me. I'm going to do this quick shot here. Cheers, everyone. Okay, that's the video. Sorry it took so long. Went a bit longer than I thought. I don't know, 22 minutes. That's about what I thought it was going to be. So yeah, keep your eyes open for uploads in the future. I think it'll probably be about a week before I start uploading Mass Effect and Crusader Kings videos. So look for that second week of January. And in the meantime, be well. Take care of yourselves. Hope you guys keep watching. And so long to Nebish. We love him and we'll miss him. Thanks, everyone. Take care.